The current view of 5G in the industry at the moment is predominantly around two visions. The first is a hyper-connected view of the world where we connect more things in more places, so higher coverage with networks, much more connection density, but predominantly using the technologies which are deployed right now, so 2G, 3G, 4G, some Wi-Fi, some other radio access technologies too. The second vision is one which is more traditional around a new generation of technology. It amounts to step change in bandwidth, reduction of latency, but essentially will be delivered in the first instance to the people who have high bandwidth already, so it will act as a new island of even more bandwidth in the middle of an existing 4GC. Both of those visions drive requirements into the industry. What we're trying to work out at the moment is whether they can all be met, and the view right now is probably that they can't. The things which aren't included in 5G at the moment, or at least we think shouldn't be included in 5G, are a bunch of technologies which are being identified by a lot of the other organisations looking at 5G as being included under that umbrella term. Things like network function virtualization, things like heterogeneous networks, and also the advent of low power, low throughput networks as an enabler for M2M and Internet of Things. All those things need to deliver actually ahead of the 5G timeline, which is being identified at the moment. So we're working on those independently within GSMA programs. We have a program called Network 2020 and another program called Connected Living, which are addressing network evolution and enabling M2M and Internet of Things as independent topics from 5G. As a result, what we consider 5G to be is essentially higher bandwidth and lower latency. The timeline for 5G is a very difficult thing to work out at the moment, primarily because nobody really knows what 5G is going to be comprised of. A lot of people are placing stakes in the ground around events which are going to take place, particularly the Winter Olympics in Korea in 2018 and also the World Cup in Russia in 2018, and then the Summer Olympics in Tokyo in 2020. So those provide a timeline when something which will be labelled as 5G needs to be within the networks which are going to address those particular events, and obviously they will be national operators in those countries. The reality of the situation is a lot of it depends upon what you actually think 5G will be. The requirements that we identify have some particularly challenging aspects around them, not least of which is that they butt right up against the laws of physics in being achievable. So there may be some new challenges that get identified along the way, and realistically we may see mass deployment of 5G by 2025, but before that would be very, very tough to predict. Operators should absolutely still be investing in 4G. 4G is still a relatively new technology. There's only about 6% of the connections worldwide are based on LTE. And around 350 networks have deployed so far. So there's still massive scope for further investment, both within the networks that have deployed and also to bring everybody else on board with LTE as it moves forward. It is the baseline technology for deploying mobile broadband services today. We have identified good spectrum for it with digital dividend, and we've got good applications which are driving revenue in operators. Our focus within GSMA is to expand the usage of LTE, connect the next billion, and also to essentially make services available which drive incremental revenue for operators. LTE has to be the baseband technology to do that, and right now we're predicting well in excess of $1.5 trillion of investment in LTE technology over the next 6 years. The GSMA's role in 5G will essentially be the same as it's been in every previous generation. We'll look at the technology which needs to be added on top of the baseline definition to enable an ecosystem. That's things like interconnect, roaming, and also the identification of harmonised spectrum which can be used to deploy 5G in a way which allows people to roam from one country to another and maintain the same service on the device that they have in their pocket. Right now though, as I said, we continue to focus on technologies which need to deliver ahead of 5G and enable new service revenues and new applications to be deployed, particularly in areas like machine-to-machine and Internet of Things.